Welcome to The Pullback. Join us as we dig out our latest comics and discuss them with a rotating panel of the GCRN crew. So sit back and enjoy this week's Pullback.
Hello and welcome to The Pullback. This is Back Issue Classics, episode 53. Oops, this is not Back Issue Classics, episode 53. It's Back Issue Classics, episode 54. Naked Tila distracted me, folks. This is where Skeletor is supposed to laugh. Hello.
You bumbling boob.
Welcome back to the new adventures of He-Man.
And we're back. We're doing another He-Man Eternity War episode. I'm, of course, TFG1 Mike. Joining me is the Skeletor of the podcast.
Hello, folks. Good evening, folks.
There you go. That's a little better. If you tried a little bit, that could almost be a cross between Skeletor and Ahmed the Dead Terrorist. Oh, Jeff Dunham. All right, so as I said, we're here to talk more He-Man, the Eternity War. We're doing issues 5 and 6 this time around. As we've said previously in the other two podcasts we did for Eternity War, I have already read the entire series. This is pretty much fresh for you. After the last episode when we talked about issues 3 and 4, what were you expecting coming out of issue 5 and 6?
Well, the last two issues we discussed seemed much more serialized and almost one-offs at the same time, because the one issue primarily just was She-Ra. So, as you said, this is an overarching story, so I was expecting maybe a little more of the story to begin to come together.
Right.
And it seemed we were right about this.
Yeah, it kind of does come together. Issue number 5 on the cover is King He-Man. It's called The Destiny of Doom, and it has many, many purple hands reaching up out of the skulls. What do you think of this cover?
Prince is coming out of the grave because he wants some of that sweet
Oh, that's so wrong.
Yeah, they're a little too buff to be
that it's just way too soon. I mean, Purple Rain joke, sure, but wow. Okay, so we start off basically where we left off at the end of issue 4, where Skeletor and his evil warriors are Skeletor more than the evil warriors are tending to a hurt She-Ra.
She's more than hurt. She is bleeding out.
Yeah, pretty much. Do we get a full-on... Okay. I know we saw him at the end of the last issue, but just this first panel here where he says, "Hush, rest, child. You're sorely wounded." What do you think of the Evelyn, Beastman, and Trapjaw looks for this incarnation?
They seem very 2000X influenced.
Yeah.
More along the lines of what we've seen thus far in the other miniseries leading up to this.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But I think I'm glad they went a little more classic with Evelyn, because I think the past one or two times she was very scantily clad for reasons unknown.
Yeah, well, it is DC Comics. Yeah. They like their scantily clad women. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but let's face it. I mean, they do. Yeah, Evelyn, I'm glad they did not make her yellow and blue. Like the toy.
I could go either way with that.
I mean, okay, so classic Filmation cartoon, sure. The actual toy, I don't think so. So yeah, we got that. She's asking for her sword, and Evelyn is pretty much like, I ain't doing shit for her.
Yeah.
Hell with her. Beastman even asked, "What does she take us for fools?" So Evelyn fetches the sword, and She-Ra does, interesting twist on the healing power.
Yeah. She does herself.
Oh, oh, oh God. Now all I can think of is the damn Divinal song. Oh, God.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, her hands are above her waist.
Yes. Well, that... I wonder if her... Never mind. That's just a bad nipple joke. It's just a bad nipple joke. So, the healing powers in this, basically what we see is that the sword heals She-Ra. If anyone has ever seen the She-Ra series or the He-Man and She-Ra Secret of the Sword, she puts her hands on you and she heals other people that way. So healing herself, it's a little strange. So she gets all better. She's ready to fight everybody, and we get the giant page here of her facing off against Skeletor and the Warriors, and we get the He-Man, the Eternity War. Part 5, Past and Future.
She looks awfully horny. I mean, pointy in this one shot. Just everything about her design is incredibly sharp.
Yeah.
With her costume, just in this one panel. Afterwards, everything kind of goes back. But
yeah, I mean, I like that they have the red cape because she's always had the red cape, but I understand. Pat Mahan and Mark H. Roberts. Mark H. Roberts is colors. I have no problems with whatsoever. As far as the drawing and the design, maybe that's what Mattel wanted this story to have, especially with this 2000X style sort of protection. But like, I really wanted a more classic Filmation She-Ra look, and yeah, that I don't want to
she's
call
erect with power.
Thank you. I'm really, oh God.
Well,
All I can think of is there's a strap on under there somewhere.
The overall design isn't too bad. It's just once you hit below the waist, it seems a little cumbersome.
It's just in that one pose, and even in the pose on the next page. I'm trying to see if there's another page here where she, when she's standing straight up in the panel where I've skipped ahead just a little bit, where he says where he takes her aside and he says, "I lied earlier. I know who you are, who you really are, Despara Adora." In that panel right there, where she's just standing straight up, the costume looks fine. Yeah. But in the earlier panels, like the panel where he says, "We will return shortly," where she has her, quite literally, she has her knees bent and like she's climbing down a mountain. It just looks all kinds of weird. And I am sorry that as much as I like the cape, that cape is too friggin' long.
It billows like a mother.
Yeah, the cape and I know this is not the Filmation cartoon series, and we never got her in the 2000X series, which sucks. But the 2000, not the Filmation series, the cape was never that long.
No.
So Evelyn doesn't like this, that he's taking her away to talk to her. I want to go back just a minute here because we got to talk about the reveal here, the up close reveals where he says, "These are not monsters. Come, know them. Evelyn, Trapjaw, and Beastman. What do we call you? Herman?"
Herman. I really like that panel. It's very refreshing in a comic where you just see kind of grunting and menacing fighting drawings, and then you get this hideously rendered Beastman just cracking himself up.
You know, this picture of Beastman where he says, "What do we call you, Herman?" Reminds me so much of King Louie. Like, I'm just waiting him to break out into the King Louie song from the Jungle Book. Like, seriously. Okay, so Skeletor and She-Ra walk away, and Evelyn still does not like this. We then get a basic origin, kind of paying homage to Secret of the Sword. Basically, him saying, "Did Shadow Weaver ever tell you the tale? How I abducted you for Hordak when you were a child?" So we all know it, and that's always been a principal arc of the He-Man and She-Ra brother-sister twin thing. And what I love about the DC He-Man series, from the 2013 series to now, and even before them, but once they started introducing Despara and She-Ra and all that stuff, they've always had Skeletor / Keldor as uncle, because Keldor was Randor's brother. So, see, like, I remember when I originally brought this, because I originally had this issue in print. I remember when I brought this home and I opened it to this panel where she says, "Yes, I know who you are. Despara's predecessor's Hordak's former pupil, uncle." I was like, oh, snap. What do you think of their exchanges here in these panels?
Well, they certainly cut to the chase and don't let things kind of drag on, where in many situations something like that could be drug out over an issue or two. I do really love these close-ups of Skeletor's face. I'm all about the classic design of Skeletor, but there's just something so haunting about those eyes.
Yeah, those eyes are just creepy as hell. There was one panel, I think it's earlier. Yeah, it's the one where he says, "Did Shadow?" Yeah, the one where he says, "Did Shadow ever tell you the tale of how I abducted?" That panel right there, the full-on close-up. The eyes aren't even bugging out. They look like they're. It looks like he's got the Red Sea parting in between his two eyeballs. Yeah. That's just epic and awesome. And again, Pop Mahan, Mark Roberts, art and colors. You guys are killing it. Dan Abnett on script is killing it. The story was done by Rob David. So again, I still have to ask, how much of this is Rob David's story and Dan Abnett's script? Like, is it combined? Is it Dan writing a script based on a Rob David's? Like, see, that's one of the things I've always, and it goes to anything, not just comics, but like, you know, you'll see something on say a cartoon where it'll say, "Oh, story by this person, but it was written by this person," and I'm like, wait, what? How the hell? So Skeletor tells her the tale of Orko and John Constantine and the whole DC versus Masters. He doesn't really go into the DC, but that's where Constantine showed up, was when he eventually went to Earth. And then we get probably the best single panel. The best single Skeletor panel ever.
Well, it is a DC property, and the DC universe is known for its multiverse gimmick.
But it was a way to homage everything.
Oh yeah, I absolutely adored it.
It really was. So let's run through this. We've got Battle Armor Skeletor up there. We've got
Skeletor. I don't know who the two hulking ones on the upper left and right hand corners are.
One of them, yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe that's something Pop Mahan or Mark Roberts can comment on for this episode for us. The two Skeletors, one on the left, one on the right of the upper right-hand corner of the all Skeletor panel. But then you got the 2000X Skeletor, you got the current Skeletor, you got another one there, you got the toy. They actually put the toy in here. That's awesome. And then obviously Filmation. Very, very cool. So he's telling her the whole thing of the multiverse, and each and every Eternia Skeletor loses. Always. The power of Grayskull never becomes mine. There's always a He-Man to defeat me. And he wants her... He's basically saying he's going to rebel against destiny. And he wants her to use her sword to heal him. And I guess Evelyn can hear all of this. What? This will not stand. So she goes back and she steals the eyes of Grayskull.
In true Evelyn fashion.
Yep.
Now, if you'll notice, she steals the eyes and then, I guess, blasts Beastman and Trapjaw away. Skeletor and She-Ra come back.
Mm-hmm.
What do you notice about Skeletor?
She healed him.
Okay, they didn't show a panel of her healing him, so I wasn't sure if it's just assumed that she did.
Let me see
Maybe
here.
They just
Go
forgot
back.
continuity.
Okay, so let's see. As a young prince, I rebelled against my brother Randor. As Skeletor, I rebelled against Hordak. Okay, he's still broken there. Against Destiny, I have seen what your sword can do. Heal me. Restore me to my strength as Skeletor so that I can join the fight against Hordak. And when Hordak is defeated, heal me again. Heal me of Skeletor. Renew me as Prince Keldor. So, yeah, I can only assume that in the panel where he says a better life, right before Evelyn steals the things, the one panel where they're standing by I can only assume that she did heal him because we see that his face is healed once more.
I mean, that didn't take very long for him to sway her over. She's mighty gullible. I do say so myself.
Yeah, I guess so. So Evelyn steals the eyes of Grayskull. She goes to the castle of Hordak. I'm sorry, I can't call it the castle of Grayskull.
Didn't they give it another name at one point?
It's Castle Grayskull in the Fright Zone. Now this is pretty badass though. These last few panels where you have Evelyn fighting the Horde troopers.
Like clearly, they're not all robots anymore. Like we have.
Yeah.
But then what are they? They're all purple skin, so they must be some sort of demon race of something that we don't know.
Yep.
All I can think of is I don't know what that New Adventures character name is. That is purple skin and the silver helmet. Is it Flog or something like that? It's got the red
Flog, or maybe it's no, it's not Mosquito. Or who is the purple one that Scott made? Oh God. Anyway, so we have Modulok. Now I've recently seen Modu because, like I said last time, my buddy Optimus Soul and I are going through every episode of She-Ra over on the Powers of Grayskull series podcast. I've seen Modulok. He does not look like Too Bad. Why the hell did they make him look like Too Bad?
Well, that's primarily the main form of the toy.
Oh. Okay. Well, if they're going off the toy, that's fine. It's still weird. So we have Triclops there as well.
Which when did he jump ship for Hordak?
Yeah, he's kind of like, and I know people are gonna scream at me and kill me for saying this, but he's kind of like the Boba Fett of the series. He really is.
Yeah, and he'll give his science and technology to whoever the highest bidder is.
Yeah, whoever's gonna pay. So she hands over the eyes of Grayskull to Hordak. I'm never not gonna make that joke until he goes back to Filmation style Hordak.
Yeah, please can sooner than rather than later.
Yeah, really. Great Lord, my greetings to you. I know you, Skeletor's witch. The Eye of Chaos and Kronos. May your kingdom come. And
he has to see through this.
Yeah.
It's I know they're playing Evelyn to character. It's just I'm kind of tired of seeing her get mad at Skeletor, then running off to Hordak or running off to King Hiss. It's just the same thing over and over again.
You know, the funny thing is, well, King Hiss wouldn't work in this scenario, but Evelyn, Skeletor, and Hordak, all I can think of is chasing Amy in finger cuffs.
Why doesn't she just strike it out on her own?
Yeah, I don't know. After all, her father was the elder, or whatever he was called. I don't know. So after Hordak gets the eyes, we go back to, I guess, Mount Zor here. And the sorceress, or the goddess, or whatever Tila's calling herself now in the snake uniform, is showing Hordak, wow, damn, I'm jumping ahead. Showing He-Man a door with a giant horde symbol on it. This door, you feel it calling to you. Yes, what lies beyond it? To answer your question, whatever it takes, you said. What will it take to defeat Hordak?
A bowl of Captain Crunch cereal that stays even crunchy in milk.
Uh-huh. Yep. Now, the coolest thing for me about this issue when it first came out, and even now, so you have these panels where Tila says you may not like what you see. We then have another one where they pushed out further on the door in them, in the thing, and then it's just a giant red page. I'm like, oh my god, it's the blood of Grayskull.
Oh, how they tie everything back in.
And then we wake up to He-Man and Tila in bed. I just don't.
I guess on Eternia, everyone sleeps naked?
Well, they are married. I mean, makes sense.
I mean, when I go to bed, I put on a full fur net sweater and a parka.
God. You must live in Alaska. I know you don't, but... So He-Man and Tila are married and they are king and queen. I've never been I've just never been able to wrap my head around He-Man and Tila being a couple. Never.
I mean, there have been so many instances where they've lead up to that or tease it and like, okay, well, I guess it's about time.
Yeah, so as these panels continue, they go through a little romantic teasing between them, and they end up out on the balcony to look down on their kingdom. And we have next the problem with power.
This is very garish-looking future Eternia. Let's just put a giant sword on the top of one of our buildings and cover everything with futuristic cannons.
Wait, was there a giant sword or was there a giant He-Man logo? Because I swear to God, it was like, hey, I guess the widgets have a new He-Man signal now. So issue 5, what did you think overall?
I like where it was going, and then you get to the end, and I'm thinking, oh god, here we go with another future alternate reality, as if I don't have enough of those in Marvel and DC big comic events already. Here's another one.
Oh yeah. For me, I absolutely love issue 5. I thought it was great. I thought the pacing was well done. I thought the character stuff with She-Ra and Skeletor was great. The fact that they actually figured out a way to write around him having the injury he has from earlier series and being able the best panel out of that entire thing though, out of all of issue 5 has to be
the
Skeletor's the multiverse.
Yes.
It just has to be because
Why
it's
can't
just
that be a comic? Skeletor's multiverse.
I know, right? That would be so awesome. Issue 5, I really dug it. There's not a lot of things I have wrong with it, so I'm gonna give it a 4.5. What about you?
Out of 5?
Yep.
I'll probably go with a 3.5.
Okay. All right. Up next, we have, and I actually literally went back to get the clip from the season 2 episode 108, I believe it is, The Problem with Power. Again, originally when I was buying print comics, and I went to my local comic shop here in Louisville, The Great Escape, on Bardstown Road, I went and picked this issue up. Immediately saw the title, Problem with Power. I'm like, oh, I see what they did there. That's awesome. This cover is wrong in so many levels, though.
It's very Conan-esque.
Yeah, it's very wrong. It's very Conan-esque, but it's also very wrong because you have Panther gnawing on the bones of Skeletor.
I didn't take them as the bones of Skeletor.
What did you take them as?
Considering the color, I was thinking they might be the bones of Battlecat.
Well, Beastman is wearing his fur as a coat,
Yes,
so
which one?
potentially, but I don't know. Yeah, you're right. As far as the color,
This is probably just their Christmas card that they send out to all of Eternia on the holiday months.
yeah. The only reason why I said it was Skeletor was because if you look at the skull, it's a human skull. It's
Oh,
not.
jeez. I'm not even paying attention. Oh, God. What am I thinking? You're right.
So that's what I'm saying when we get into the issue here and we see that Beastman is wearing the overall coat of Cringer / Battlecat. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I'll slap myself on the wrist for that. Ow.
Yep. Okay, I didn't really expect you to do that, but okay. So we start off with Zor, and we have a He-Man flag. And
I thought it would have been cool if it was the flag from the playset with the two
yeah.
cross swords.
Yeah, that would have been really cool. So we have all these people. It's 30 years later after the defeat of Hordak. And He-Man the Eternity War, Part 6, Now and Forever. Again, Dan Abnett on script, story by Rob David, Pat Mahan, and this time Tom Derenick are the artists on this issue, with Mark Roberts as colors and Deron Bennett as the letterer. Pat Mahan did the cover for this, and I love that cover. So this one starts off with Beastman and He-Man going out into the populace, and there's a woman there that wants to have He-Man cure her baby with his touch, and Beastman is basically this full-on worrywart about, oh no, don't do that, and then Zor comes in, the alarm, the Falcon has sensed danger, and turns out to be, this is no child, it's a Chimera acid bomb.
That's just a mouthful.
A
Chimera acid bomb.
Death to the false king, death to the tyrant. And King He-Man says, put her head on a spike.
Yeah, how very not He-Man?
Yeah.
This is just the beginning in this issue of very non-He-Man.
Well, this is a future story. This, may not come to pass, but basically He-Man has turned into Hordak. Pretty much. So, first of all, let me ask you, what do you think? There's a panel here a few pages later where right after the earthquake happens, what do you think of He-Man's look there, the brownish black?
Well, this is a variant of the King Grayskull, not King King He-Man toy that Mattel put out maybe about 2 years ago. So part of me is thinking, oh, this is just another way that they can give credence to one of their toys. Because, or at least, well, we're not children reading this, but as a child, if I saw a toy and it didn't have a tie-in to the cartoon that I was watching, I had less of an attraction to it.
Yeah.
And, I just wouldn't let my own imagination come up with it. So if you have a child reading this, I could sort of understand the logic. But this really isn't written for a child.
No. The DC Comics He-Man stuff is not. It's written for us. It's written for 30 and 40-year-olds who grew up on the series. And as I said earlier, in that same panel with He-Man and the new thing where he says, saddle the steeds, we ride for Grayskull. You see what Beastman has on his head.
I'm it's a little off-putting, but at the same time, I understand that it's probably it's a way to honor his fallen friend. That we're going to take him to battle each and every time.
Yes, but he's on Beastman.
Yeah,
there's not anybody else other than Beastman. And so we get this big riding scene, and I wasn't really sure when he says saddle the steeds. I wasn't sure if he was talking about actual horses or stridors everywhere.
Why would you have to saddle robotic horses?
I don't know. So they get to Grayskull, and Grayskull is very toy accurate.
Uh-huh.
Extremely 1982 toy. I mean, green skull and all.
Very I guess they've spent the past 30 years reinforcing it because it's no longer half rubble.
There's guns all over the place. I was just waiting for Point Dread to be on the top of the tower there.
Yeah, Mattel and DC. Where's Point Dread?
Yeah, it's not there.
I guess we'll have to save that for another alternate reality.
So they enter the castle, and we have like a million different sorceresses now.
Yeah.
Sorceress's apprentices, I guess. I don't know.
Sorceress apprentices.
I don't know. So apparently he's asking them to show him the future, and they're saying they can't. The future has gone dark. Our mirrors show us nothing.
They show us other toys.
Do they?
Yeah, I can't make all of them out.
Oh,
But
yeah, briefly.
I'm not sure who the green one is. That might be some New Adventures thing. The other is, I think it's Dare, son of He-Man.
Okay. Okay, I see him now, yeah.
I guess the middle one is some close-up. I can't quite...
I would assume that would be like King Grayskull or something,
Yeah.
because it's a different crown.
And the other three are the original three prototypes for He-Man.
Right, cool. So he has Beastman fetch this prisoner that he mentions earlier, and it's poor little Orko. Ah, poor little Orko.
I know that they want to try to do something new with Orko because as an adult and you look back at Orko, he's an annoyance and he's just one of those write-off kids characters. But I just don't think it works when you're trying to make him anything more than what he is.
I'll say, I'm going to take the opposite point here because I think in this series, since he got reintroduced when we did the DCU versus Motu crossover, when he got brought back into the story as Dark Orko, and then he got freed again to be his, like, I think that was fresh and original and cool. And okay, sure, it's Orko becoming evil, but and that, good guys going bad is a classic plot throughout any point of media. It's not anything new to comics specifically. But like you said, you got to do something with Orko other than having him spill water on Man-at-Arms every week or every issue. You know what I mean? You got to do something with the guy. So at least this, between him being the dark thing of Horde Prime and then coming out of that and here now, finding out that he's a part of the rebellion, I thought that was pretty awesome that they were doing that.
Some of those shots of He-Man like throwing him to the ground, it's a little unnerving because he's just this little tiny guy. We've got a panel here where Orko says, I know nothing of any liar. You're a part of it. You've arrived with them with your pathetic parlor. You've armed them with your pathetic parlor tricks. They tried to kill me again today, this day of all days. Then I weep that they did not succeed. And then he throws him down to the ground. And we get the Fires of Eternity, and we get this really, really haunting up-close of Orko where he says, all this turmoil, it is a symptom of your madness. What has become of you, Adam? That name no longer has any meaning to me! So basically what they're saying is, instead of earthquakes and bad science blowing up Krypton, He-Man's mood is blowing up Eternia. What can I say? Some people have mood swings and some people have mood swings!
Things. Yeah. And apparently Orko's... I love all the close-ups on Orko. Come on, you got to admit, the art for Orko on the close-up where he asks, what has become of you, Adam? And then the panel later where he says, "I still have one trick left up my." I just love the close-ups on Orko. The artists and the colorists have done him so well.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think that even though they beat him up, and there are some instances where I don't like what they're doing, they're the one shot where it's like, what? He has so much humanity still left in him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what happened to you, Adam, my friend? Of I've known you since you were a child, and then it's like I still have this one trick up my sleeve. Damn it, I do.
And we bring in Stratos and Rioblast. I still hate Stratos' costume. I'm sorry, Pop Mahon and Tom Derenick. I'm sorry.
More cases than not, they stuck true to the original designs of the characters, but Stratos is so far out in left field.
The only thing I don't like is the all-encompassing helmet. The all-encompassing Spider-Man-like mask.
Yeah.
That's really the only thing I don't like. The wings, the body plate for him and all, like the rest of him is. I just get that helmet off that man. Ugh.
I don't know. Maybe do we learn that there's something under there that we didn't know before that he's covering up?
No, I don't think so.
No. I don't like the mask.
Yeah.
Excessive red for his breastplate. Just do away with that.
See, and again, that goes back to the toy. It really does, because there were two versions of the toy. There was the blue version and the red version.
Yeah, but those were just the straps.
Yeah, I know. Still. So He-Man kills Stratos. And then enter She-Ra. Okay, so other than the cover, this is the best panel in the entire issue.
Yeah, it's really dynamic. It's especially the curvature of the wings and the angle of the shot. You can kind of just feel like they're flying in and then curving as they're coming towards you.
Yep. Absolutely. So we get He-Man versus She-Ra. Where she says, "The sword of protection gave you that scar, now it will take your life." Oh boy. And we get the classic "For the Honor of Grayskull." And she defeats He-Man. But sadly, the blood reaches the altar. And it turns red. And the age of Horikoth is upon us, and everything is destroyed. Now, what did you think of the He-Man She-Ra battle and the defeat and the blood and all that stuff?
I understand. I could see the story they're going for. I guess they addressed it in a couple of other pages, but I don't know. I think I'm just overthinking it. Like, okay, so this Age of Horikoth, what does that mean? Clearly, everything's destroyed, but is the galaxy destroyed? If this whole Horikoth entity is there to hold sway over the galaxy, well, then, is it nothing? Is it something?
Well, he does so we get this Horikoth, no, all is lost. Eternia, the universe, all is lost. And She-Ra is she's like this vanishing. It's kind of like when Toyman blasted Superman into the future and he just kind of disintegrated. He didn't die, people, but he disintegrated. It's kind of like that. And then we go back to He-Man and he asks, is that how the universe ends? So I assume the Age of Horikoth destroys everything.
Well, if it destroys everything, then how can there be an age to be had in the first place?
Maybe it's a Brainiac thing. Who knows?
Maybe.
So Tila shows up again, pretty much all naked in a cloth. And he says to her, I thought the prophecy is from the Age of Grayskull. I always thought it referred to me in Skeletor. No, He-Man, it speaks of you and your sister.
Dun, dun, dun.
And we go back to Tila's Now this is interesting how the artist did this. So we get future Tila, the one that we've been seeing in 30 years after. So we get her pretty much naked, holding up her bed sheet to her, so nothing pops out, so she doesn't have a Janet Jackson moment. And then you get, where he asks her, where she says, "No, human, it speaks of you and your sister." The very next panel is them transforming her back into the goddess of the current time. What did you think of the green, basically the She-Hulk version of Tila before she goes full-on snake person again?
Well, I didn't quite understand why they just didn't have her show up in front before He-Man as her goddess form all over again. I mean, the universe is destroyed. There's no reason for her to stay in that form. Is it just another reason to show her, holding up some bed sheets?
Mm-hmm. So we then get a discussion about everything, and she basically says you should not remain He-Man all the time, and we talk about the power and all that. It's basically power. Yeah. And of course, the old adage, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So he basically agrees to transform back. And when did Mount Zor turn into the... I don't know. Mount Zor and Castle Grayskull in these two issues, I mean, I know Castle Grayskull has turned into looking like Hordak, but Mount Zor in this panel where he's transforming back, it just looks all kinds of wrong.
How so?
I don't know. It just, like, the fire coming out of it, I don't know, it just looks weird to me. I
just assume it's the power reverting back into it.
Yeah, it is. And in that panel, we get several of the snake men that we probably know. And then we see little teenage Adam.
Looking like a hipster.
Yup. And people always complained about the pink vest and the purple pants in the 80s. Come on now. I mean, seriously? That haircut, really?
I was a little shocked at how modern this take on Adam looks.
Mm-hmm.
We've maybe seen him, once or twice as Adam in these newer series. And
yeah,
he had more of a look that would probably be akin to what we know for Eternia. This looks like you could pull him off of Saks Fifth Avenue.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice homage. He does have a red vest and purple pants, so they didn't make it pink, at least. But, it's a nice homage to the 80s thing as far as the clothes, but the way he is looked, the way he's drawn, and the way he's styled, it's more of the 2000X style than anything else, which is fine. I have no problem, because it's basically what they're going for here. Ever since they powered him up past the classic Filmation sword and into this new stuff, it's really what they were going for. And we end with Tila saying, "Adam, it is good to see you, Prince Adam. Grayskull knew this day would come. As He-Man, you defended this realm. As Adam, you will save it." Dun, dun, dun. Oh, boy. So, issues 5 and 6 of He-Man the Eternity War. I gotta say, much improved over the disjoint. Like, between the two issues, the story is fully connected. And whereas last episode we did one of these where I felt that the story between issue 3 and 4 was pretty much disjointed all around.
Yeah.
But they connected these two issues fairly well.
Indeed, they did.
What are your final thoughts on 5 and 6?
I really liked number 6. By the end of 5, it had me thinking, are we going to go into some alternate reality, number of issues, God knows how long they want to drag this out for. But it was quick enough, and even from the beginning, you start to see this, even though it's lasted 30 years, just this descent into lunacy that He-Man has had, and
Yeah.
it builds upon itself to where he just goes nuts towards the end, and then those last 3 or 4 pages make this issue. It's a
Yeah,
problem with Power
absolutely.
because we've addressed the problem in the past number of issues. When was the last time we saw him as Adam? And he
Yeah.
says specifically here that he's doubting his own self-worth, that
Right.
he feels like he has to be on constant guard, and
Sure.
Teal is there to tell him, no, you don't have to. That in and of itself is a huge test, and if you're able to break this, then we can really get some work done, and that's what he does.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I love how issue 5 started out with the whole She-Ra stuff, and most of issue 5 was She-Ra until we moved into the whole He-Man thing, and then issue 6 was this weird alternate, this like 2015 B, kind of like 1985 B from Back to the Future and all that. I really dug that. I know it's a future time and it's not set in stone, as Rip Hunter would say in DC's Legends of Tomorrow. But I gotta say, a lot of people probably were, a lot of fans, even though it's part of the story and it's only a potential future. A lot of fans were probably pissed when this first issue 6 first came out about this future of He-Man because of how douchebaggery he was.
Yeah, I mean it took me aback, because it is not what we come to know from He-Man. But as towards the end of the issue lays it out for us, that's the problem with Power.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. I think that's going to do it for us. This episode will be going up on Wednesday, May 11th. So between now and May 11th, you got anything going on or coming up over the next couple of weeks?
Well, I do believe this Saturday is Free Comic Book Day.
Yes.
And my local comic book shop of Brave New Worlds in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania, has agreed to bring me on again this year. Last year I was there as Dr. Doom. This year I'll be doing Joker again.
Awesome.
I'm going to be at the Atlantic City Boardwalk Convention from the 13th to 15th of May. It's at the Boardwalk, so I will be in themed Joker attire. I'm still piecing that together. So if anyone
you should do Beyond.
The black spandex?
Yeah.
I don't know. You have to tuck a lot in there.
It's black and purple, but yeah, the future Joker. Good old Tim Drake.
That one. Crazy Kitty.
Yeah. A lot has changed since your dear old Uncle Joker's been away. New Gotham, even a new Batman. Oh, God, I love Return of the Joker. All right, so He-Man, the Eternity War. After reading these latest 2 issues, do you have any expectations or predictions for issues 7 and 8?
I'm just excited to see what they can do with Adam rather than He-Man.
Yep. I am right there with you, because honestly, these early issues, I don't remember. That's why I reread them before we do this, because I have to remind myself what the hell happened. All right, folks, I have no idea what's coming up in the pull bag later on in this month. As you can tell, we're not doing Batman month this year. It will be back next year with a vengeance, because Steve and I are going to be doing Nightfall for that, so that's going to be interesting. Make your greatest game in the comics, and we will catch you next time.
Today I broke a promise and proved myself unworthy of the great power that was given me. And if I am unworthy, I can no longer permit myself to be He-Man. Let the power return!
You've just heard the latest episode of The Pull Bag, the GCRN's comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate our show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you are leaving the message for, and your name. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. Send us an email feedback at geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at geekcastradio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.